Okay, we're live now on Facebook. Hello, friends, artist friends. I have many artist friends. I know a lot of you might have iPads, so hopefully this will mean something to you. I have a class coming up tonight at 7 p.m. You'll see below the information about that class on Zoom. That's Zoom's new tutorial platform. And there's a little website URL down there on zoom.us and my profile there, and you can get access my classes there and register. It's $20 for an hour of iPad lessons, and we're focusing on basics right now. I'll be adding some advanced classes in there in the coming weeks, and so let's just do a little exercise here, just kind of give you an idea of what kind of things we're teaching, what kind of things I'm teaching. I have first of all, my setup includes several cameras, and I can switch from one to the other, and it helps kind of the experience. You get to feel like you're right here in my studio. I'll give you an example of what that looks like. My cam here. You can see I've got a model set up, and I've got a camera, and whoops, occasional mishaps, but for the most part, there we go. Okay. So when I want to switch cameras, for instance, I can go to my Canon and show you the statue I have posed right here for us for one of my classes. And then there's a split between my iPad screen projection overlaid on top of the model. I can also do that where we have a reference photo that I'm oftentimes using, and so you can see what I'm doing on my screen. And occasionally I do it over the shoulder with a camera if necessary, or we can project a straightforward iPad screen, and I've got some reference photos here. And this, of course, let's use this as a chance to get it right into the lesson. So today I'm going to show how you can take, a piece of artwork done in a different medium, bring it into your iPad using Procreate, and add color and even animation. In this case, we're going to colorize a drawing I did maybe 20 years ago in pen that was scanned a long time ago. It's just sitting in my one of my folders, and I thought, well, let's go ahead and colorize this and get a chance to work with layers and and different things, different features of Procreate that I can preview for you. So first thing I'm going to do is in my upper right hand side, the second to right, two squares overlaid on each other. That's my layers palette. Now this was a scanned image. It came in, I imported it in as a Photoshop file, and so it's essentially on a layer inside of Procreate. I essentially shared it and opened it straight into Procreate from my Mac. What I'm going to do on this next layers palette here, I'm going to see a plus sign on the right hand side of your layers palette. I'm going to click that and add another layer. That's layer number 2. It's now highlighted. That's the layer I'm going to work in. And then I'm going to go to my brush tool, which is above that layers palette. Click on that and bring up my brush library. And in this case, I think what I'm going to do is go to my, let's go with water and choose, a wash is fine. That's kind of mimicking a watercolor. And let's go back to my layers here. And this is a good example. If you're familiar with Photoshop, this is a chance to use some of your Photoshop knowledge in a really great art making app. So I'm going to tap on this layer once and expose a couple of options which come up on the left hand side. And you can see there's various things I can do. I can name this layer and tap in there, and we'll call it color wash. There you go. And let's go to my that red circle in the upper right hand. That's our color palette. I'm going to tap on that and bring up my colors. Let's go to the blue for Blue Jay. And our hue, the little circular hue thing, I can control which colors we have there. I'm going to pick a nice Blue Jay blue. And this middle puck shows where I can add white or black to that blue. So I'm going to go for something a little bit on the pure side with just a little bit of black in it over there. And that blue that I chose here, you can see it right next to that little yellow cube in the upper right hand side, the blue and the yellow. The yellow was my previous color. The blue is the color I just chose. So I'm essentially ready to paint. I'm going to tap away from the color palette and send it away. And I'm just going to test the brush out with a little bit of a wash, just get a sense of it. And I'm going to hit the undo button. Now undo, that's a really great feature in Procreate. And if you see on the right hand side, I've got these toggles here. One is for the size of my brush, which I'm moving up and down here. And I'm going to bring it down in size right about that. And the second toggle here is for the opacity. And that's essentially how transparent that layer is. And I want to bring that transparency layer all the way up to 100%. Now, I'm going to look down below that toggle. You see there's a little arrow that goes in a U shape backwards. That's an undo button. And right below that is a redo button. So I'm going to hit the undo button and go backwards. See, I'll show you what that's like. So I'm going to make a mark and a second mark and a third mark. And then I'm going to hit the undo button 3 times. 1, 2, 3. So that's a really wonderful aspect of Procreate, and it really helps to move things along. So I'm going to zoom in a little bit on this bird. That's some nice ink work. I'm going to test my brush, bring it down in size, and I'm going to go ahead and start colorizing my blue jay. And I'm going to go over the line a little bit, over the outside edges. I'm totally fine with that. And I'm not sure if you can see, but where I'm painting over my black lines. And I can affect that after I'm done. I just want to fill in this color here a little bit. Right there. Now, as I go over this brush, you can see that it's like a saturation of more and more color as I paint over it a few more times. It's a very dark blue. I think that's fine with me. So let's see what we can do with this layer here. Right, I'm going to tap on my layers palette, and if you look on that little selected layer, you see an N and a checkbox. If I select the checkbox and deselect it and select it, you can see I'm turning the layer on and off, making it visible and invisible. Now if I press the N, I'm going to get some options here that are very familiar to Photoshop users, such as opacity, darken, color burn, dark color, normal, lighten, screen, dodge, a lot of really great Photoshop filters. But in this case, I want to multiply. I want to actually make that black that's below the layer really stand out. So I chose darken, and that essentially combines the layers and the colors and the pixels and makes it look as if the black ink was done on top of the blue. All right, so I'm happy with that. And let's click to the canvas again and send that layers palette away. And then I'm going to choose my eraser and bring up a palette when I click it again. And the eraser also has a brush library. And you can choose a texture for your eraser that matches exactly the texture you use for your brush. So if you're erasing and you're using a pastel texture, if you're drawing with a pastel texture, you can erase with a pastel texture and really keep a nice clean look to your image. So in this case, I happen to like Mercury, and let me show you. I'm going to tap again on that selected Mercury brush, and it brings up a little tester, so you can kind of see exactly what kind of brush you're using. And if you're satisfied with it, it gives you a chance to see when you press really hard how thick it gets and how small it gets. It's a really great cleanup tool. When I show you, I'm going to hit that done button, that orange-yellow button in the upper right-hand corner. I'm done. I like that brush, so I'm fine with it. I'm going to click on the canvas, and I'm ready to start erasing. So if you just look, I'm going to scrape way above the blue jay's neck, above its head. Just do a little bit of a cleanup on the spots where I painted over the line, over by his wing, down by his tail. Clean up a little bit of the tail area. Let's get this white area back there. Clean up around the wings. There you go. So let's put some white back over here. So that's a really great way of quickly adding color to a pen drawing. Now there's plenty of ways of applying the color. We won't get into that, but I just want to show you what layers can do. So we go to the layers palette again, and I'm going to press on that DA, which represents darken, and I'm going to actually change the opacity of that layer, just make it a little bit lighter, softer. And if you watch on the screen, you see that it's becoming more wash-like, just taking some of the intensity out of that. And I'm going to let go of that and tap back to the canvas. And there I have a nice little ink wash illustration, nice and fresh, something that I did 20 years ago, but now I can go ahead and use it again. Okay, so I'm going to speed up the process a little bit, and I'm going to keep coloring this artwork, and I'm just going to speed up the video, and by the time I'm done talking, you'll see this thing come together rather quickly as I stall for a little time for this fast speeding video, as I fill in the color of the leaves and the berries, the stick, twigs, put a background color in, make it nice and bright. It's all good. And there you go. That's how I finish up my Blue Jay ink and wash iPad illustration. Make sure to check out my 7 p.m. Zoom class tonight or anytime. Email me at jw@dangerousmedia.com if you want to set up one-on-one classes on your iPad with Procreate. Okay, great. See you soon. Draw with Jeff.